billion as of this morning. And that wall of receipts keeps tabs on the contracts that Doge says it canceled. But this running list of alleged savings is riddled with errors. So many, in fact, Doge deleted some of the savings claims from the wall of receipts. And 1/3 of the canceled contracts on the wall of receipts are listed as saving you, the taxpayer, $0. Why? Because those federal funds have already been committed to be spent. Here to dig more into all this is David Farenthold, investigative reporter for the New York Times. David, thank you for joining us this evening. A lot has been talked about in these savings. They have claimed to have saved about $65 billion, but what did your reporting uncover about that figure?
Well, they haven't given us a lot of details about how they get to that number, what the cuts are that make up that $65 billion number. The one place they've given us is that wall of receipts you showed us. That's the only place where they've sort of shown their work in public. Here are the things we cut. Here are the savings we got from all of them. And what we found is, as you said, that list is riddled with errors and sloppy errors, basic errors, to the point that the top 5 cuts, the biggest cuts that they announced when they first put up the wall of receipts last week, they're all gone now because they were all wrong. All 5 of them were wrong in ways that made the savings seem much, much bigger than it actually was.
Oh, what's the source of that error? Was it their own accounting, or were they relying on other data? What?
You know, it seems like they just don't know how to read federal contracts. Like, so just to give you an example, the first one, the biggest one, was $8 billion cut out of the budget of Immigration and Customs Enforcement. That turns out to be a typo. It was really $8 million. But it's a typo they should have caught, because if you knew anything about ICE, you know that their entire budget is $8 billion. So the idea that they put it all in one contract seems a little implausible. That's what they went with.
That's a huge typo. $8 billion versus million, you gotta be kidding me.
Right, it's the factor of 1,000, right? So then the next 3 biggest contracts on the list were all the same contract, counted 3 times instead of once, $655 million. It wasn't worth that much even once, but the fact that they looked at that and didn't say, hey, isn't it weird that there's 3 contracts in a row that are down to $1 exactly the same? And instead they just put it out there, and so there was, again, more than $1 billion worth of phantom cuts.
To get the American people riled up, and that's exactly what they did.
That they're putting out to the public, which doesn't really bode well for their understanding of other complicated government systems they're dealing with now.
I want to dig deeper in some of the more other contracts as well, because there's one at the IRS for $1.9 billion that Doge claims that it canceled. But who really canceled it?
Joe Biden, the Biden administration. We talked to 2 of the people who were awarded that contract. It was canceled back in November.
That's pretty stunning to think about. So how does that somehow get slapped onto this new wall of receipts? Is this... I'm trying to understand, is this just pure human error? Is this surreptitious in some way? What do you think it is?
Well, in this way, we actually can see a little bit of how it got on the list, which is Treasury, the department that includes the IRS, tweets at Doge last week. Hey, look at Doge, look at this. We saved $1.9 billion. And Doge then picks it up, tweets it back out and says, isn't this great? Puts it on the wall. So my question, like your question all along, has been like, is this Doge trying to fool me? And they think the public doesn't understand this? Or is this somebody else fooling Doge, realizing that the Doge people are moving so fast, know so little, that you can sort of pass off fake cuts as real cuts and they'll accept it? In the Treasury's case, it seems more like the latter. Treasury offers up this contract that they really cut back in November and said, hey, look at this, Doge, look at all this great work we're doing. And Doge just accepts it, none the wiser.
I mean, if they measure twice, cut once, that seems to be the opposite of things that are happening right now. But some of the contracts with discrepancies, as you mentioned, they vanished from the Doge website overnight. But Doge isn't actually explaining what happened. And we've heard the word transparency used in connection with Doge, but as a criticism for not being transparent. So how transparent are they really?
Well, again, as you said, they've said it would be maximally transparent, and this wall of receipts is supposed to be the epitome of that. But instead, you're right. The 5 biggest cuts all disappeared over the last few days with no note, no explanation how they got this wrong. And even now, but now that they've got rid of the 5 biggest cuts, the one that remains, the biggest cut on the list right now, is that $1.9 billion IRS contract we talked about, which, as we discussed, isn't a real Doge cut either. It's a cut from last year. So even now it's wrong. But there's been no explanation from them about how they got this stuff so wrong.
I want to apologize to my audience for making you do math this close to midnight. But David Fahrenthold,
Okay.
thank you so much.
Thank you.